Welcome back to Sheet Metal is Fun. Today's a little different. We are at a secret location. My wife and I did a job inside this building and we thought you guys might wanted to check it out. And so let's go on inside, take a look, and then we're going to show you what we did. Then we're going to go back to the shop and show you how to do what we did. But first, let's go inside. All right, we are back at the back side of the building that we just looked at up front, and we're going to call this place Slick's Place. That's not his real name, but I changed the name to protect the guilty. So let's step on inside Slick's Place here, and we want to show you the corrugated siding trim that we put around the bathroom inside of his workshop. Come on inside. Look at that. What a bathroom, huh? So what I want you to see is this is all 24 gauge corrugated roofing material, and it's also siding material that we made. We bought the siding, we made all the trim, but I wanted you guys to see how it comes together as a complete package. Down on the bottom, Slick put a board at the bottom, so the bottom of this one is a Z-bar right here. And I'm going to show you when we get over to the shop, I'm going to show you why a Z-bar, because if any fluid runs down here, then we can clean it off. This is a J-track, it's shaped like a J. So if we put a J-track across the bottom, it creates a place, it's a catch-all, and plus you can never clean it. So this is a Z at the bottom, J-track on the sides. Each one of these penetrations, since a penetration wouldn't look very well on a corrugated backing, we made separate little boxes for every penetration. These are all different sizes, so when we came through in the copper here, we made a little 3.5-inch square, and we notched the trim box into the corrugated, and then once the plumber was done, we put the trim ring on it. Can you see that? Ooh, man, that's pretty. Show that outlet too. All right, I want to show you guys inside the bathroom as well. So let's take a look inside. So this is a J-track on the sides, Z-bar at the bottom, and the top is a L metal. I'll show you, once we get over to the shop, I'm going to show you what the L metal looks like. And then I want you to get a real good close-up on this corner right here. So the face of our J-track is 3/4 of an inch, and the face over here is 3/4 of an inch, but I'm going to show you how we make that corner once we get back to the shop. And then you're going to see how we're able to make both of these surfaces the same, and it makes a really nice inside corner. So right back here again, J-track on the sides, Z-bar on the bottom, L metal on the top. It's the same up here, and it's the same around. Come over here, and then this is J-track too. So I use J-track to trim around the electrical panel. And let's take a quick look inside. So this is more of the same. So the bottom 32 inches is corrugated siding or wall siding, J-track, L metal, Z-bar at the bottom. I'm going to show you how we make these corners. You're going to like that because I think it makes a really good looking corner when they both. Can you get right down there and see that corner? Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you guys are going to like that. And then back here, you can see another box for the supply water for the toilet. And then under the sink, This one is actually the same box that we made and used. So what you're looking at right here is a box like this. And all we needed was to provide a flat surface for all the escutcheons and the trim rings to mate up to on a flat surface, because you just imagine what that would look like on a corrugated siding. That wouldn't look like anything we'd want to brag about. And this one was an electrical connection. I just made a stainless steel box here, and it has a screw on each side. This was only used during construction. It's not, there are no switches, it's just a connection. And this is a stainless steel box that I made. There's wood backing behind the sink. Before we mounted the sinks, we made this stainless steel pan and welded the corners. Oh, that looks good. Welded the corners, mounted the pan, the stainless steel pan, to the framing that the carpenter left us, and then we lagged the Z-bar to hang the sink on. It goes through the stainless, and then we hung the sink there. I don't think, can you think of anything else we're missing here? Mm-mm. So you see where we had an electrical connection, we have L-metal trim at the top, and the reason we have L-metal trim is because the carpenter, actually the cabinet maker, he did trim all the way around the every place where it got corrugated. He trimmed it out. So that's going to be an important note once we get over to the shop and show you guys how we did this. And yeah, I can't think of anything else. Yeah, let's leave Slick's place and head back into town to the shop. And now that you've seen what we did, let's go back and figure out how we did it. So again, like I said, this is when we got this one done, we thought, man, I think some of these folks would like to see what a day in the life of a sheet metal worker is. And here it is. What a great example. I did not make these sinks, but I have made sinks like these in the past. But isn't that a nice fit? One of the other things we're going to do is we're going to make a corner guard around these two outside corners, because this is a fabrication shop and a welding shop and an all-around anything that Slick feels like doing shop. All right, I think you guys have seen it. It's pretty inspirational and perspirational. And so now that you've seen what it looks like, let's head to the shop and let's figure out how we did this. We'll see you over at the shop. Bye. All right, well, before we leave Slick's place, I want to show you this stainless steel box that we made. Underneath this stainless steel box is the keypad that opens the automatic gate. But the gate can also be operated with the remote. And look at that gate. Look at that thing. And in case some of you are wondering, yes, we made the gate and all the wrought iron around the entire property. So we made this gate, Slick is a hot rod guy, so we made him a gate that would reflect his taste in hot rods. We'll see you guys over at the shop. All right, welcome back to Sheet Metal is Fun. Today will be our deepest dive. We have not taken on a project of this magnitude since we began. As a matter of fact, when we began our channel, our first lesson was this pan right here. We learned how to make a pan. Today, we're going to use some pans, and I'm going to show you what these pans are for when we get to it. So one of the things I want you to do is I'm going to introduce you today to a few new things. I'm going to introduce you to the razor wheel, the double cuts, and I'm going to demonstrate both of these, and the circular saw, which a lot of you, if you're do-it-yourselfers, you're already familiar with the circular saw. But what you have to know and the mindset you have to have before we even get into this, we've already been over to Slick's place, and you've already seen what this looks like. You've seen this in action. You've seen it in real life. Now I'm going to show you how we did what we did over at Slick's place. But the tools that we use, they require so much respect. And even if you have a little bit of fear, a healthy amount of fear, that's good. But one of the things I want you to know is that almost everything that we as creators, as mankind and innovators, almost everything we've ever accomplished, we've accomplished it with the use of tools. So every tool we have, whether it's a saw or a shear or a hammer or a screwdriver or a snip or the truck we drove to work today in, every one of those tools they move us farther down in life toward progress. But if they were misused and they are not appreciated and they're not handled properly, I don't have to tell you what things can go wrong, because I want you to just continue to respect these tools. And these tools we're going to introduce you today, they require so much more because they're power tools. And we are going to, let me just show you, the first thing we're going to do is the razor wheel. The 045 is the thickness of the wheel, so it's a really narrow wheel, and that's probably why it's called a razor wheel, because it's almost razor thin. But what it does is it cuts through metal, and it does an amazing job. So whenever we get ready to cut the corrugated metal, we are going to use a razor wheel and an angle grinder. And here's what I want you to do. Never go anywhere without our earplugs if we're going to be working in a sheet metal shop. Put our earplugs in. I'm old, so reading glasses. Safety glasses. This is my newest face shield right here. I thought this was funny. This is my newest face shield. A couple of days ago, I rebuilt the carburetor on the Bug and pulled it out of the carburetor cleaner and took the air hose and sprayed out all the orifices and jets. And so I thought, just for fun, I'm going to wear my face shield. This is my brand new face shield, and I'm not even sure if you can see my face. This is carburetor cleaner that landed on my face shield. Now, when that first happened, when I sprayed the air into that carburetor and it did this to my new face shield, my first thought was, rats, what a dope, Godfrey. And then I went, oh, wait a second. That was going to be my face. And so I got a $7 shield that's going to go in the trash right after this lesson. But the nice thing is, it wasn't my face. So pretty disappointing that I ruined my new face shield right out of the box. But the good thing is, I didn't ruin my face. So this razor wheel, it cuts through this corrugated metal. This is 24 gauge corrugated metal. There's not anything on your body or part of your body that is tougher than this steel corrugated. And this tool cuts through that corrugated steel like butter. So I hope you get the point I'm making, that If you don't look like this, don't pick up this. I don't want one of you to get hurt. I want you to all succeed. I want you to all accomplish the task that you've set out to accomplish. But I cannot tell you how much respect this little tool takes. If you look at it, you may think it looks innocent. Man, all this thing wants to do is cut. And it's up to you to harness that cutting capacity and turn it into something useful. So we are going to cut. So whenever, I don't even think we're going to use this today, but when you cut across the corrugations of this steel, you're going to need to use this. And one of the things that you always have to be aware of is that this is a carborundum wheel. So it's a compressed wheel. And so they occasionally disintegrate, and they are a consumable wheel. As you use the wheel, the diameter begins to decrease because it's consumable. And because it's consumable, as you're cutting, there are occasions when this wheel will disintegrate. And when it disintegrates most of the time, 90% of the time, it disintegrates on this plane right here. So if I were going to cut, I'm just going to flip this over so you guys will quit being confused by the sign double cuts. If I were going to cut this corrugated right here, my face shield is going to be on. Safety glasses are on. These gloves are leather gloves. Again, don't use a cotton glove. Think protection. Think sparks, flying metal, sharp edges. So I like a medium leather glove. They make them thicker, but then they're clumsy to handle the tools. It's hard to turn the trigger on. So let's get back to this wheel disintegrating. When they disintegrate in this plane. So as the pieces come off, they fly, because as it's rotating, it's going to come apart this way. So always offset your face. Offset your person to this right here. And then if it does decide it's going to come apart and create a problem, it's going to have less chance to gather you into that problem. So this right here, good. This right here, come on. Don't do this. Look, if that thing comes apart, it can come through your face shield. It can come under your face shield. Don't do it. There's no reason to do this. This is not more efficient. It's not faster. It's just more dangerous. So you're over here, you're offset, and so if that wheel decides it's done for the day, it doesn't make you done for the day as well. Look at that. I already tried to take it off. It doesn't come off. So if you don't have earplugs, good leather gloves. I like the glove with a gauntlet on it. That's what they call this additional portion, the gauntlet. Gives you a little bit more protection. Face shield. Safety glasses. And then if you're old and you have a hard time reading things up close, reading glasses. But these are not safety glasses. Not safety, just reading. This is safety glasses. We are just here to help you have fun and have a sense of accomplishment. We're not here so that you can use more Band-Aids and you can get to know the people down at the emergency room. That's not what we're here. So hopefully you get an understanding of what a useful, incredibly powerful, amazing tool this is, but it has no empathy. All it has is a whirling wheel of 10,000 RPMs, which can be harnessed for good. Let's harness it for good. That's one tool we're going to show you. The next thing is the double cuts. So now we've learned how to cut across the corrugations. The problem is you can't make this cut with snips. So this is the best way to do it. Now, if we're going to cut this way, this is called the double cuts. Now, this is a professional grade double cuts because, as I have mentioned before, I'm a highly skilled, highly paid professional. And but this end, they also have this end that you can buy, and it'll attach to your battery drill and give you a double cut. I've got this one plugged in. So what happens is this is the cutting tool, and these are the stationary blades. And this one is going to reciprocate up and down, and this allows us to cut along this ridge. Let's do that. So now with the razor wheel, we've learned how to cut across. Now we're going to learn how to cut with. So watch this. Double cuts because it's cutting two sides. Look at that. Plus it makes these sweet little curls. This is the kerf. This is the part that we've removed. So it's not a saw. This is a saw. This removes a portion. This takes out a portion. So this one is a shear, and that is a saw. So depending on where you have to cut, the double cuts is really the best and most efficient way to cut this way. Now, if you did have to trim, you can you could cut with your snips if you wanted to make that cut. And so there's going to be times you saw we were able to cut on this rib right here, but at some point, once we get around the edge, once we get around to the halfway point, we may have to transfer the mark to the other side because this tool doesn't want to cut down this valley. It would rather cut on the high spots. So we may have to flip it over and cut it from the back side. So professional grade double cuts. This is also a wheel it's a little less intimidating than the razor wheel on a 10,000 RPM grinder. So you can use these small wheels if you felt inclined. And if you just didn't want to grab one of these. But this tool right here, man, we use these so often. I probably buy 5 of these a year. And that's not because they wear out. It's because they're so useful and there's so many applications. And it's just a very valuable tool. But you gotta give it all the respect. You got to look at that thing and just think that that tool, it doesn't care. It'll cut this metal, and it'll cut your finger, and it'll just look you right in the face and go, did it. There. It doesn't differentiate between what it's cutting. Be careful. Use it. Be careful with it. All right. So you've already seen the project. And so here's what we're going to be using. Today is this material is 24 gauge corrugated. It can be roofing or siding. If you're going to be using it for roofing, For the outside stuff, you're going to want to use a screw with a neoprene washer on it. But we're not doing outside stuff. Today you're going to be working on your man cave, your she shed, your outside bar, and since it's going to be under the roof, inside, basically, it's an inside job. We're going to use these screws. Did you ask a question, baby? Okay. This is called a lathing screw, L-A-T-H-I-N-G. You know what? It's probably on here. It's called a self-piercing lath. It's a lathing screw. And so the thing I like about these for this application, it's got a real flat head on it. It's called a wafer head. And I like to put the screws in the low spot of the siding. Even if we're doing roofing, and we did a job years ago where we went around the entire house with corrugated, with galvanized corrugated, and then we did the roof in the same material, only in brick red. And so if it's outside, we're going to use the outside screws. Inside screws. But even if it's a roof, there are two schools of thought. Some folks like to put the screw in on the high spot if it's a roof. The thing I don't like about that is you can never get the screw tight because you can't suck that up. But the nice thing about putting the screw with a neoprene washer in the low spot is you can run it down until it's tight, and you can activate the neoprene washer and you get a good seal. All right, double cuts. So these are also available at your discount tool supply, or you can just buy the double cut head. I think we've covered that. All right, inside job. Let's get these outside screws out of our way. So what we did over at Slick's place is the carpenter or the cabinet installer, cabinet maker, he framed around the entire perimeter of our project, and then we just filled in the infill. So just so you could see, this is just a piece of 1.5 inch square tube from the wrought iron shop out back where we make gates. This is what we call Z-bar because it's shaped like a Z. So what I'm showing you here is, this is what's happening over at Slick's place. Oh, these sheets, this is 7/8 of an inch thick. These come in 3-foot wide sheets, any length you want. These were 10-footers, weren't they? Yeah, we bought 10-footers and then cut them to the size that we wanted. And they come in several colors. This is the natural, the galvanized finish, but they come in red, green, white, blue, all kinds of colors. So over at Slick's place, he had a piece of 1.5 inch trim around the perimeter. So this is what you saw over at Slick's. It comes down, this is called Z-bar. It comes down, over, so that when the metal sits on top, the corrugated, if something lands on here, it can get off. It can drip off. I'm going to let you get a good look at that. So on the bottom, over at Slick's, we used a Z-bar because there was wood. Now, what we're going to do here is I make an effort to always show you alternates or different ways that we can do something, and this is part of that. You already saw that one, so we don't need to demonstrate that. What we're going to do, Oh, I wanted to say, back when we were talking about tools, I've already pulled the battery out of this circular saw. So imagine me with my earplugs, my reading glasses, safety glasses, face shield, hat, because chips are going to be flying, and gloves. So when we bought these panels, they were 10 foot long. And I think we cut them down, they were like 7'3" or something like that. So we stacked several of these sheets together, marked them, and we actually, on sawhorses, we actually cut 3 sheets at a time with this carbide tipped blade. And that was, we cut that entire job with this one blade, and it's still a good blade. The battery's out. So you can see, you get the carbide tipped blade with as many teeth on there as you can get. I think this one has 60 teeth on it. And then that wraps up our tool introduction. So you know, we stacked a bunch of these up. We measured how high we wanted our pieces, and then we cut them off with the circular saw. Yeah, I almost forgot that part. So we already know what it's like over at Slick's place, where he had an 1.5 inch bottom board on there. But so now I want to show you, maybe you don't have a bottom board. So what we're going to use instead is we're going to use L metal. All these pieces, if I hold that right there, will you focus on each one? And then when you nod your head, I'll, yeah? Do you got all of them? You're good. You are good and fast. So we have our L metal, and it says open right here. The reason it's a little bit open is because we're going to screw it to the wall, but we want the bottom to hug the floor. So we've turned a hem on here. And so this is just our standard. This is almost always laying around the shop. If we ever want to check something for square, all this is a piece of 120 thousandths aluminum. So see what I'm showing there? Can you see that space at the top? Mm-hmm. So you can see it's open. The reason it's open is so that this bottom lip comes down and hugs the floor. That's all this is. If you see this laying around, that's all it is. It's just a square. And let's go ahead and put this bottom L metal on. You're doing good right there. This is the thing about a lathing screw, is it has such a nice flat head. If you ever go by a construction site and you see them using metal studs, metal framing studs, they're put together with this so that the drywall can go over the top of the screw head and it doesn't show on the front. So this is our mock-up of a little wall. So since the wall is going to move, it's going to be a little... We're going to go there. I'm temporarily putting this on just so we can measure it. All right, so you see what we've done. There and there. This one, I just put it on temporary. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this corner up right here. So we could get our tape measure out, or I mean our combination square. Cute little baby combination square, and lay out this miter, but we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to mark this one and that one. See the two marks? I made one mark on this one, and I made another mark right here. Okay. Oh, that looks good. You got it. So we haven't used our tape measure. Now we're going to get our reds. I'm so used to eyeballing everything, but you guys may not be there yet. So let's go ahead and make this mark. All right. Now, we've talked before about the difference between rights and lefts, and that would be in our shearing versus sawing lesson. So I want this to be my finished side. So I'm going to cut this with my reds. It's going to get difficult right here at the end because there's a hem. So we went from cutting a single thickness to cutting two. So what I'll do sometimes, look, I'm putting the end of my snip on the table, and then just, instead of using all hand, I'm using the table just to get through that second thickness. So now we know we have a good corner. And I'm not sure if I have, just for this lesson, let me grab a piece real quick here. The reason we used the reds is because we wanted this part to have a good finish on it. Because, did you see I used the table there? Now, this is a nice finish. This side is not as nice. It's what we call a hawk bill. Anytime you shear, which is what we're doing with our snip, is we're shearing, there's going to be a smooth side and a rough side. So the reason we used our reds here and we cut from this side was that the smooth side was going to be the side exposed to us. All right. Let's get a couple of screws in that one. Ordinarily, the building wouldn't be trying to push away from me as I'm putting in the screws. So, you got some, baby? All right, here we go. Man, that is teamwork.
Makes the dream work.
Make the dream work. All right, same thing over here. I like to put the screws somewhere in the middle, and that helps pull the piece in. If we put the screw too close to the top, this can still pivot around. And if we put this too close to the bottom, then the top can come out. So, we use a water-based marker so that this ink that we put on here comes off with any type of water. And that water is on, you see a towel? Yeah, I got one right here. So you could use this squirt bottle water or any naturally occurring type of water. And it takes the mark off. It's water-based marker. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do is, when we were over at Slicks, I told you I'm going to show you how I like to make a corner. I think it's a good looking corner. So, this is 1 3/4 inches. What we have on our J trim, that's this one right here, 1 3/4 inches. That's what this one is right here. I'm looking for, oh, there. What do you think of that? Okay. So that's 1 3/4 inches. The reason it's 1 3/4 inches is because the face is 3/4, and the depth is 1. So what we're going to do here is wait. We're not going to use that one. That's the wrong one. And it's only wrong for a very particular reason that I will look for that one later. Anytime we're making a finished product, which is what we're making, what I like to do is look for, we'll call it a factory edge. So when we made these pieces, this edge was cut in the shear, and then we formed it. Can you see that? How's the glare on that?
It's not bad.
So you can see the hem on here, and so there's no way in the field to get that nice of a cut unless you use the razor wheel, which is what we use a lot of times. But if you use the snip, as soon as we cut through the hem, then it disfigures the metal. So what I want to do is always expose the factory edge. In other words, this was the finished end, the factory end of the trim. And you can see this is the end we cut with our snips. Look at that. Not as cool, not as awesome as this one. So whenever we're cutting our trim pieces, we want to consider that factory edge. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to put a vice grip on here. So now I have a 3/4 inch exposure, but look on this one, I also have a 3/4 inch exposure because this one is 1 3/4 inches. And look what a pretty corner that makes. Yeah, I can say pretty. I say pretty. We're going to go ahead and stick these two together. This is not a magnetic tip, so occasionally it tries to take you out to the woodshed. Always try to put your hand in the safest place you can. See, I'm in a pretty good spot right here. This spot right here is not as good. See this edge? Always think in terms of put yourself in the safest place possible. I put that in over here. So now we have two factory edges at the bottom. These are nice. The ones that we cut in the field, which are not as pretty, are going to go up here. One of the things we're always doing as installers and fabricators is we're always looking for where is the place that we can be inaccurate and it's never going to show to the customer. We might call it a fudge factor. Like, where's the fudge factor? So you can see what we have here. We have our J-track here. We have our corner deep J-track, which gives us an exposure of 3/4 and exposure of 3/4. And then let's put that in. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, here, get my face. While I'm thinking about it, today is our baby girl's birthday. She's 27 today. Our baby is 27. Happy birthday, Marissa. I love you. We love you. Mom and Dad love you. It's not just me.
Thank you for including me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, really, you really pulled your you really pulled your share of the load on that effort. All right, so we have our corner in. Now let's put this corner in a J-track. There is so much to this project, and I want you guys to get it all. And honestly, I had this set up yesterday, but I want you guys, I want you to understand what's happening here. I'm not in a position anymore in life where I'm competing against anybody. I'm just letting this run wild. We don't need to cut it off. You know, I'm going to take that off. See this right here? See that little gap right there? Let's address that. That's because our L metal on the bottom has a slope on it. So when I was younger in the construction trades, we were all competing against each other. So when the job reached its completion, it was a drag race down to the hall. And it was very important. And there were times, so let's look at this. I'm just going to put a little bit of that slope. There were times when it was basically a competition to get to the hall after the job was over. Everybody you worked with was your direct competitor. All right, so what I've done is I cut a little bit of that slope in there. I cut too much, huh? Huh? Watch this thing. I'm just going to keep cutting this thing till it's all the way done. All right.
Spare parts, right?
So I'm going to take, yeah, I got spare parts hidden over here behind the wall. All right.
Like the
So
baking show, we got one
we'll do,
in the oven already.
yeah. Okay, here's our pie crust, and there's our pie. I'm not going to try to use these same holes. Let's just go ahead and make a new hole. So, back when I was in the trade, competing every day against my fellow construction workers, sheet metal people, there were times when as a beginner, I would ask questions. Hey, what is this? What can you tell me about this? There were times that I would get misinformation because I was a direct competitor to every other sheet metal person on the job. So I'm not in that position. The position I'm in is I have enjoyed this trade for 46 years, and I love the creativity of it. I love the different things that we can do. You saw when we were over at Slick's place that we've done sheet metal work for him, but we've also done wrought iron work, and we've done welding, and we made all the wrought iron around his facility, and we made that gate with the automatic opener. So the place where I'm at in life is I just want to share with you, and if I can do a little spark, I gotta admit, I would love to find some 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, boys or girls, and who are looking for something that they can do to make a difference in the world. We drive by things monuments that I built 30 years ago, and that pushes a very important button in my brain that it tells me that I'm creating value and that I've made things that are going to outlast me. And which is also another reason for our channel. We would like our kids and our grandkids to get a chance to watch Grandma and Grandpa on our YouTube channel. How fun is that? How fun is that? So we've got our J-track on the end. We've got our corner in. We're going to add our other one on the end here. And did I finish that thought, huh? Did I? I just have so much that I want to make sure that you guys are catching. Oh, you know what? So just for fun, we're going to go ahead and go around this corner. So I've shown you what an inside corner looks like. There's an inside. And then we're going to show you what an outside looks like. The hammer my son Justin made. Look it's made out of a broken car axle. That kid, he's something. So again, I want to go back, since all corners that we work with in the job site, they're not going to be square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this piece right here, because this is the piece that's coming around the corner. And I'm going to put a mark. So instead of using a tape measure to put a mark, I'm using the actual piece. And there's always a chance to misread a tape measure. There's always a chance you could look at something and go, okay, yep, 5 11/16, and then you realize, no, that wasn't it. Now, I'm going to mark this outside corner right here. So I'm just using the piece, my actual piece, as my marking device, as my measuring device, and I'm marking the outside corner. There's my outside corner. And that's really a fat mark. Let's make it a little smaller. So we can use our greens right here. Look at that. Man, that's beautiful. Then let's use them again. I'm going to go in just a little less than 90. Put the end of your snips at the end of your cut. When we're notching, it's the only time we go to the end of our snip. So now, in our snips, we can use them upside down or right side up, whatever. And you can see right side up, there's a little bit of interference with the wall. Look at this. Turn it over. Doesn't hurt it. We're not abusing the snip. So all I've done here is instead of cutting a square corner, I cut it just back a little bit. So now, when we take this one and lay it on top, whenever we can, I like to just have a little overlap. Now, if you guys weren't watching, I would have eyeballed this. But I got a funny feeling some of you are still watching. So again, we're going to cut it to where the finished side is on our keeper. We're right here. Look at this. Let's go ahead and do this. I think sometimes if I just be real quiet, you're going to get just as much out of the quietness as you will all the talking. Now, we didn't need to do that. We just did that for fun. And look, is that ever fun? What a nice corner. You know what? I would like that to come out a little bit more. So if you guys have already noticed, we don't do any post. What you're seeing is what we're doing. We don't come in and spruce all this up at night after everybody's gone. I just took a little bigger bite on that, just to help move that point out. See the finish that we have there? Mm-hmm. Oh, back to our outside miter. One of the cool things about putting a hem on this edge is, you see this hem right here? You can take this is the welding knife that my son Justin makes. Look at that thing. It's got his trademark G in it. So what we're going to do with this hem right here is put this over the table, keep your body in a safe place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that hem just a little bit. I don't even have to show you all the ways that this could go wrong if we weren't here. So what we've done is we've opened up the hem. Now, with our open hem, we can put the hem around I'm going to call that good. So let's just look at it from underneath. That we don't get to do this very often. Can you see the way the hem wraps around it there? That also helps keep that corner from lifting. So the hem comes around and pinches it together. And then what we want to do is we want to file that corner a little bit. Look at that. Isn't that a sweet knife? That Justin, he's something. So outside corner with our hem wrapped around. So now let's get to putting our panels in here. Hopefully that's not the one that goes there. That'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it? I said, hey everybody, watch me. I'm a professional. Oh, no, just kidding. Just kidding. So, when you guys weren't looking, I cut this piece, and look, it's going to fit into that J-track. Right? Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I got so excited about our outside miter that I forgot to put the corner on. Factory edge of the corner down there. Flush with the end. Down to one. I got just the answer for that problem. Yep. Put that J-track in, flush with the end, screwed it in place. Use the factory edge whenever possible at the finished area. Use the part that we cut with our snips. You know what? This is a little tight right here. Let's take a little bit off of that. I'm just going to go around here and take a little bit off. Okay. I'm using a 5/8 screw because this is basically 5/8 plywood. It doesn't do any good if if I put a 2-inch screw in here, it's not holding any more than a 5/8. A 5/8 screw into 5/8 plywood. This is a little thinner. The walls are thicker than this little scrap I put on the top. This scrap is just part of the demonstration. All right. I'm in that corner. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? So back to our water-based marker. All I want to do really is find anything at all, because this number, I'm just giving a number up off the base. It doesn't really matter what that number is, but look at that pair of snips right there. That's pretty good. That makes a nice place for a screw. And then what I want to do is, every chance you get to eliminate looking for a mark and hitting the mark, go ahead and take that chance to, you know that you're going to have success if we do that. We know we're not going to miss it. So, all the measuring, eliminate measuring every chance you get. So, let's put one in here. It's tough because we're going through 24 gauge, and we're also, that's why we put very few screws to hold our bottom track on, because whenever we add our siding, we're actually going to be adding screws to it. So here we go. I'm glad I got my earplugs in. All right. So now this piece here is just to demonstrate what we did over at Slicks. So his had a framework all the way around. So this is just L metal. It's on our sheet over there, right here. Let's see, like that. Here's the hemmed edge. Here's 3/4 exposure, and there's the 1 inch because our panel is 7/8 of an inch. So here's what we're going to do here. Let's see. I'm going to leave, you know what, I'm going to leave that long because we're going to have to revisit that. So this is L metal, so I'm going to put the screw up through this flange up into here. Now these screws are going to be a little long, so we're going to get a shiner here. But for what we're doing, it's going to be perfect. So I'm going to screw through that flange and make sure I don't put my hand anywhere here. Look at that. We're going to put one more in here. If we were out in the field, we may put in more. And that's how we're going to trim the top off. Can you see the screw up in there? Yeah, I see it. Good. Hey, you're good. You are good. Now, let's put our other piece in here. This stuff is very flexible this way, not flexible at all this way. So that's why we put the J-track in first. If we try to put the J-track on last, like put our metal in and then put the J-track on, there are some places where we may need to do that. But it makes attaching the J-track very difficult. We don't want to do things a difficult way, so we're going to step this off. I've got to be honest, I don't think I could like that any more than I do. And I am being honest. Forthright.
There's nothing you should always do that way.
Okay, you guys ready? Remember, going through two thicknesses, so you got to stay on it. Keep going. Rattle it in. The spacing is up to you. We don't need to hit every corrugation, but every other, that's got a real good look to it. All right. So now we are down to, yeah, we're down to the top. So what I'm going to show you guys is the last thing we got is this top piece right here. But we got a really tricky, we got a tricky corner here. So here's a couple of things we can do. We could mark it and cut a 45 this way, 45 that way, 45 times 2, 90, right? So we could do that. And that could be our corner. That's one good way to do it. The other one is just like in this corner down here and out here, having this, having a movable wall adds a little layer of complexity. So we could take out the entire thing, 245s. Or we could come over here. Again, I'm going to use what I've done is I've made a mark around these three sides and then 145. So this is just a practice piece. So I'm going to cut this right here. Snip against the workbench. Now on this one, I'm just going to go, I can't go 90 because if I go 90 when I fold this around, there's a chance that that's going to hit. So we're going to go just a little bit. There's 90. Look, we're going to move over just a little bit. Now that we've made these two cuts, I know I want this one to be on top. So we're going to take our reds and just do one less. I'm not even cutting anything. I'm just prying. I'm actually lifting this side. See the snip? Lifting here, pushing down over there. Let's go to the back side. On the back side, all I need to do is take out more than a 90. That angle is not critical. So now we're going to fold this around. This one's going to go under this one. And then we have a nice corner with no sharp edges on it because we used our reds here and we folded this end over. So that's the corner we're going to end up with. However, if you feel comfortable with this one, just two different ways to do the same thing, really. Except this one's a little more forgiving because you're never going to look in here and see a gap because we left some of that in, right? Covers up the gap. This, let's say your wall's a little bit out of square, then I'm exaggerating here, but that's what your customer will see if their wall is a little out of square. If this same wall is out of square, we still have coverage. So with that in mind, our last piece here, notice that my mark is way off the end. Anytime you have one end is a square cut and the other end is some kind of tricky Ricky, do the tricky Ricky first. Because what if you miscalculate and you don't get this cut right, but you've already cut it to the exact length you need, now you don't have a chance to make a second pass at it. So we're going to redo what we just did where we left part in. This is our J track that's going to go on the top, but also top is here. So that tells us which pair of snips to use. So we know we're going to use the reds. Got it. And this one, not here, a little bit past. We're going to adjust, not here. We're going to come back here. And then on the back side, we're just going to take out a little bit more than 90. This is 90. There's a chance it's going to bind up, and also it would be visible from this edge. You'll see what I'm saying in just a second. Took out something like that. Now, let's make sure that this one is going to go on top of that one. And in order to do that, I'm just using my snips as a prying tool. I'm pushing down with this one and lifting this one. Not removing any metal, just prying. Now, when we fold that around, this one's going to go under. Look at that. So if we just dress that up a little bit with a file, we're going to be in good shape. So what we can do here is what I've just done. This is just another example of if you want to use your tape measure or not. We could flip this over, press it over there. I can mark my end. I'm just put a mark on the back side. So I'm over here, and I'm putting a mark on the back side. We could have also measured it. Got one right here. So we got this mark on the back side. Let's bring that around. Now, I'm going to not quite cut on that mark, because if I cut on that mark, that's going to be going the way that I don't want to go. That's going to give me my bad finish on the keeper. So, just like we did on the other one, let's just do something less than 90 to our point. I'm just going to flatten that out. This is going to make our cut a little easier. Now we can do our green here. Now our last one is going to be green on this side. Green, because that gives us a good finish right here. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick up, but I want to see if I can show you. This is the finished side. And this side is really rough because this side is turned up. It's turned up a microscopic amount, just enough to give you a burr, which tells you the back side of that burr would be a really sweet finished side. So anytime you shear something, you're always going to have a finished side and a hawkbill side. I wasn't sure when I was cutting that if you guys were able to see what I was. I'm going to take some of this out of here. I'm just taking this out because I think there's a chance that I would hit the screw that I had on my J-track. So I like this kind of corner. If this is the end of your bar, I'm going to go behind that one. Yeah, I want to go behind it. So let me get Justin's custom knife out again. And I'm not pushing, I'm just going to do a couple of light taps. You could use a screwdriver if you don't have a custom sweet, custom made welding knife. All I did was give myself a little start, a little chance. You see that right there? I want you to get right here, hon. See that? See that part I turned out? That means I'm going to be able to get in behind it. It's a nice thing about having your building be a small, bite-sized building. I would put a pop rivet in it right here. And then that gives you a nice corner all the way around. You get a nice finish. Yeah. All right, so you've seen the bottom. You've seen the really sweet, look what a nice corner. We have a 3/4 inch face here. We also have a 3/4 inch face there. We have a nice finished corner. We imitated what we had over at Slick's place. This is a top cap here. So I think if there's anything that we've left out, hey, we're wrapping this thing up, baby. So you saw over there we had penetrations, as most buildings do. These are your cut-in box options. Look at these two things are almost the same thing. So the first thing we could do, back to our first lesson where we made a pan, this just represents a hole where a pipe is going to come through. So on this one, we made a pan and we cut the hole with the razor wheel, and the box fits into the hole. And then what we would do is we would put maybe one screw right here. And then this is called an escutcheon. We'd put the trim ring or escutcheon. That's what plumbers call it. And then we have a nice finish. We have a nice finish where this 1/2-inch copper pipe penetrates the corrugated siding. If we don't do this box, then we literally have no really good, wonderful, beautiful, sweet place to put our trim ring. We're not going to impress anybody. If they come in and look at our stuff and there's a pipe coming through and there's this, but right here, look at that. We gave it a nice place to land. We got flat against flat. So we've converted corrugated into a flat area. You can do it this way, or you can do it this way. What I've done is I took a piece of metal and I put it up against the end and I traced the corrugation out onto this piece of metal and then I cut it out. Right? So I have a pattern that matches these corrugations. So now this is still the same thing. This is just a 1/2 inch pipe. All right, 1/2 inch pipe coming through the siding. So what we did was we just knocked a big enough hole that while we're situating our corrugated panel on our wall, we have a little wiggle room to get around this pipe. Then what we did is we took the same box, figured out where the hole is going to be, and then what I did was I marked the center of this corrugation. And I transferred that mark onto my box. Right? Then I took and I transferred that mark around the top. And I lined that mark up right there. So you already seen the magic. I'm lining up the mark. And now I know where I have to cut my box to make it line up with the corrugations. So let's see what that looks like. Let's put this one back in. Now I've taken this one and I cut it. So this was a rough hole. Gave us plenty of wiggle room to get it around the pipe or the electrical outlet or whatever it is. So on this one, I cut the entire hole to match the pan. And the way I did that is I just laid the pan on there because we never know where this is going to come out. Right? And on this one, once we figured out where our pan needs to be, we transferred our corrugated pattern onto our pan and traced it out. So the nice thing about this is it gives you a little bit of wiggle room up and down. This one doesn't give you very much wiggle room. And you notice there's just enough gap. I want you to go around this. This is a very, very acceptable gap. We're going to, if you'll look at the earlier in the video when we started, you're going to see I took silicone and I went around the boxes. If you try to make it any closer than this, you're just going to be painting yourself into a corner, and this job is going to take a lot longer to do than it should. It didn't need to go any more than that. Oh, I think what I wanted to do, this one last thing. Let's come back to this. And let's put our last corner in here. It looks like it's a little bit long. So let's take some of that off. Let's take the fight out of it. Now, we're going to line this up across the front. Yeah. Whatever you do, don't... Never mind. I love it. All right, let's put this on. Careful to hold it right where we want it, where it's nice and purdy. The reason we left this a little long is because if we would have cut it earlier, we wouldn't have allowed this other inch. Right? See that? See how we're coming right around the corner. Now, the reason we left it long is very apparent. So, I'm going to mark. I just transferred the mark from here up to the top. I'm going to take, now that Godfrey. Stacy and I just celebrated our 22nd wedding anniversary. Not long ago. We had a rockin' good time. So we're just going to cut a little notch here and a little notch here. And this is going to bend right around here. Hey, somebody's at the front door, baby. You want to get that? Wait, you know what? I'll get it. Stay right there. Just keep walking around and looking at everything. It's so cool. How you doing?
Yes, I don't.
Is that me?
Yes, for Stacy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Happy birthday.
Thank you. You too. All right. Are you still going or did you pause? No. So you can see what we did is we notched this top trim and we just bent it around. And we went and opened the door for somebody. And then we're just showing you guys how a corner finishes up here. So that's how an outside corner would look. I think I want to put one more. Like I said, if I'm going to take a ride on the struggle bus, you guys are going to ride shotgun. I didn't like the way that opened up a little bit right there, so I just added a little bit of bend. I think that screw might be holding us out a little bit. Yeah. Good. So that's how an outside corner can look. We got a nice finish here. We already know what it looks like down there. Or alternate corner. There. We could have done a corner like that too. Still could do a corner like that. Look at that. Here's what that looks like. Man, I can't help myself. Can you believe it? What is the deal? All right. Alternate corner.
I like it.
You like that one?
Yeah.
So you already saw the J-track corner, alternate corner. We've shown you cut-in boxes. Let me think. I think that's a good place to stop, don't you? Yeah, so I know this is a lot deeper dive than we've done on some stuff, but I just wanted to show you guys what happens around here on an average day and the type of adventures that we get to do, and the people we get to meet are awesome, and we get to do creative things. So you guys, let me know what you think. If you have any ideas, if you had anything you like to do differently, let us know. sheetmetalisfun@yahoo.com, right, baby? All right, sheetmetalisfun@yahoo.com. If you make something from one of our lessons, if you miter a piece of J-track, send us a picture. Let me, one last thing. Don't go away. I never did show you guys how I cut J-track. So here's how we do it. Oh, of course we would mark it. We're going to cut it there, right on the mark. We're going to cut it here, right on the mark. We're going to bend this 90 degrees. And then we're going to cut this. That's how you cut J-track. Otherwise, you're going to have to be a contortionist to get around the corner. I think that's a great place to stop, don't you? Look, I turned my hat around for the end of the video. We sure appreciate you guys stopping by. This has been a big one. If you stuck around all the way to the end, 2 thumbs up. Thanks for coming. Sheet metal is fun. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.